Good morning and welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. It is great to see you. Sorry about that. Just literally walked through the door. Somebody hit a moose on the highway. Poor moose. Jay actually sent a message and told me, and I read through it, not getting that it was actually in Connecticut. Because honestly, I've never heard of a moose being anywhere near here. I had no idea, but it was a killer in more ways than one. It was certainly a time killer. Good morning, everybody. I have a great show for you, so I'm going to get right into it. Let me say good morning, Country Gal, Joy, Juju. Good to see you, Kirsten. And it is chilly here, too. The weather has changed. Beautiful and sunny, but super, super chilly. I was just seeing if I could quickly find my fairy tale book because on today's episode, I'm not going to run around looking for it because I'm so late logging on. Our buddies in Wisconsin, Carole, Robyn, and Kaz went to the Cream City Rug Show, and it included the exhibit of the fairy tale rugs. It'll also be at Sauter Village this year. So super exciting. So Carole took some really beautiful photos, and that's what I want to look at together today. So I was going to grab the hooking, I think it's called Hooking Fairy Tales rug, that we've rugs that we've covered on the show. I need to take a breath, I know. But I don't think I'm going to search for it. And I think all of the attributions are present in that display. So let's see how that goes before I start tearing the room apart. Linda H., great to see you. Everybody's getting a little bit of a snap in the weather, right? A little bit cold. It's going to come back up again. Sandra, great to see you. Happy Wednesday. Linda B., happy Wednesday in Jersey. April, good to see you in Illinois in Cats Gallery. Robyn, you are on. Great to see you. Courtney, good to see you. Hello. And Lori Paul, good to see you. Crystal, freezing. Not surprising, right? I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sure it's coming right back in a happy way. Mom, great to see you. Cool Granby, Connecticut. Karen, great to see you in Black Forest, Colorado. And Melissa, sipping tea after a busy morning. Oh, good. Thank you for putting that up, Kirsten. That was really unexpected. Anita, great to see you. It's sunny, warm London, Ontario, mon ami. Oh, good to see you. Jane, good to see you. Okay, thank you. Everybody's keeping you updated on the moose situation. I know, right, Linda? I mean, I could see if this was like Maine, right? What was that TV show, that sitcom in like the 80s, 90s? And it must have been set, was it set in Canada or was it set in Maine? Like in the intro, there's a moose like walking real slow across like the center of the town. You know what I mean? What Western Northern Exposure. Was it Northern Exposure, something like that? I don't think I ever saw the show. I just remember that image. That was a bit of what just happened. Poor old moose. I didn't actually see the moose. So in my head, I'm thinking, maybe he made it. You know, maybe he ran off. Maybe he did run off. I know I sold my first car to my older sister that she gave to her daughter, like her stepdaughter, who immediately took it out and accidentally hit a moose and totaled the car. But that was a little Toyota Echo, so that's not surprising. All right, Candace, Joyce, good to see you. Monique, good to see you. Good evening. Good to have you there. And Judy, great. Yes, it was in Alaska. It was a good show. Great. I got to catch up on that thread later. Let's get going on what we're doing here. And I will remind you, I just sent out a bunch of orders this morning, too. Monday, the live hooking is coming up. The Black Sheep live hooking is coming up. Do you have your kit for that? If you are a Patreon member, you have the pattern, right? You got the pattern, and you can download it, make it any size that you want, and hook along with me. I'm going to be hooking along the smaller kit size, and a bunch of you ordered that, so I know you'll be hooking along with me, although it is recorded, so you can always watch it later if you're not there or you poop out after a while. I won't poop out. I'm going to keep going until that thing is completely hooked. So I'm guessing 3+ hours, because typically that is what it is between chatting and getting her done, right? And some of you have ordered it in a larger size. And I kit it the same way, or just the pattern, and that's fun too. You can do whatever you want with it. It doesn't have to be a black sheep, does it? So that's coming up on Monday, and on Sunday, what's coming up is the Designing Like Fairy Tales class part 2. And that is a lot of fun. I've been working on that. I was working on that last night in bed. I was rereading some of the stories from the Reader's Digest. Remember those thick volumes? Best fairy tales of all time. 4 of the 5 fairy tales that I'm using for the class Sunday and repeats on Wednesday, live both times, same content. Um, 4 of the 5 stories are in there, and the one that's missing is Goldilocks. Isn't that odd that that one would be missing? Because there's probably, I don't know, 150 stories in there, but that's not one of them. But I was looking at Colony of Cats again, which is for some stupid reason one of my favorite ones. It's we'll talk about it in class, but it's very 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 different. And if you like cats, it's a great one. Bremen Musicians, Magic Kettle, right? I think that one's set in Japan. Goldilocks and the Nightingale, right? So I think that's a Chinese one. But all great stories, all a lot of fun. So I'm getting ready for that, and that'll happen on Sunday, and it'll repeat on Wednesday. So be sure you're signed up for that stuff. And I sent out the ball to shawl tapestry with tons and tons of yarn. I was getting some interest in that, so I made it as a pattern at Ribbon Candy Hooking. Why am I allowed to make a pattern of the ball to shawl tapestry? Well, because it's from like the 11th century, so it is definitely out of copyright, if you're wondering. And in the meantime, 7 p.m. Can somebody confirm that? I think I'm 99% sure it's 7 p.m. I just don't want to take out my phone and fool around. I'm 99% sure 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that'll put me quite late, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it because that's the time slot that works, right, for me. So hopefully it works for you too, but it is recorded, so it's a long time to stay on. Now, there are moose in the quiet corner, Kirsten, but I'm not in the quiet corner. I'm outside New Haven. This is right at New Haven. Like, this is crazy. Moose. Um, oh, and you complain about hitting white-tailed deer, right? Yeah, it's going to be a news story for sure. Let's look at the photos that Carole sent. She sent some beautiful photos, and I'm not even going to look for the book because I think we covered some of these, and I think the attributions are in place and that they are great. You know what else I'm doing today? Just going to shout this out. I'm headed over to Hartford to meet my mom because she hasn't seen the rug show yet. So we're going to do the rug show together at the Charter Oak Cultural Center, our rug show. I'm going to be there right after the show. I'm going to zip over there, and then I'm going to stop to see Judy again because I'm feeling the needlepoint store again, right? So those are 2 fun things that are happening this afternoon, and then I'll be working very late. But keeping you up to date on some fun things. I got some great projects in mind that I want to share with you. We are never going to get through this slideshow today, right? It's not an hour thing, but we'll return to it next week. We've seen many of these rugs, but I'm telling you, either my brain is a sieve, yes, check, or I have some kind of latent brain damage, also check. But many of these rugs I don't remember from the book, and I was really surprised. At least we didn't talk about them. So here are our buddies. Robyn is on with us now on the left, looking gorgeous. 3 gorgeous ladies at the rug show. This is the caption for this photo. Carrie, I hate it when I'm late and I have to sit through and add first world problems. Oh, oh God, that's awful. Sorry about that, Carrie. So Robyn is on the far left, and then Carole in the middle. I was late too. I just started. Somebody hit a moose, and I was in a traffic jam interminably. And Kaz is on the far right. So Robyn, Carole, and Kaz. Carole in the middle took pictures for us. I've met Kaz in person. I'm getting to know you all so well that you have such style. Like, if the heads weren't attached, I would know exactly who is who by your clothing. And I love that. You're stylish people and you're ruggers. I love this. Sharon, I just started too. I'm on late too, so you haven't missed a thing yet. We're about to look at the Cream City rug show. And here we go. Once upon a time. Isn't this beautiful? We're going to have to create something like this, some kind of intro rug for when the Design Like Rugs go to solder next year. I think this does a lot, doesn't it, at the beginning of a show when you get some kind of piece that is like an intro piece. Now, the piece at the bottom we definitely looked at. This is one of the Snow Whites. Let me stretch up, and we're going to do like we're bending over at the show and checking out the plaque. I don't know if I'm going to be able to read into that. Here, tell me if you can read it. I'm going to stretch a little bit more. Ooh, very high quality photo. Thanks, Carole. Hilda Miller. Mark Braun. Okay, so I think now, Robyn, tell me if I'm wrong. It seems to me that the rugs were divided by illustrator as they were in the book. Does that sound right? Because it just seemed like in a few instances, I was like, oh, I like this whole panel of rugs. And I'm thinking, oh, it's because they're by this um, illustrator that I really like. And I'm questioning my reading of that plaque. Hold on. Distracting myself and questioning. And I'm thinking maybe they organized it the same way that the book is organized. Okay, so the illustrator, Hilda Miller, Marcy Braun. Is that what I said? I just want to be sure that I'm doing the attribution properly. So this is Snowdrop. And remember, in earlier versions of Snow White, she's called Snowdrop. Different places, different things. Snowdrop accepts an apple. Bad call, Snowdrop. I love the lilacs coming down around the window, right? It's a beautiful image. And we have looked at this one and enjoyed it immensely. This is a great one to walk into, isn't it? Right at the beginning. And then we're seeing walls like this, and I know we're getting close-ups of some of these. So I'm going to stretch out. I know we're getting a close-up of the bottom one and the side, so I'm going to stretch it out. I wanted to show you whole panel action happening too. So let me do this. And let's look at the one on the top, because I think this is the view we're getting of the one on the top. And this is a book cover. Do you remember this? Old French fairy tales. You know what I really love about this? I love all of them. I love all of them. They're so whimsical. They're so nostalgic. They bring me back to that happy, soft childhood place, right? That dreamy place. Um, but some of them, just in terms of content, you really have to know what the page says, right? Because they're so out of context, some of them. And while this isn't a thing, because the project was to hook the fairy tales, right? So you find a line that says, example, this isn't one. Snowdrop gets run over by a tractor, right? That's not one, obviously. Um, and then you hook it, and it's like, you know what it is. It's great for the show, but in 6 months after the show is done, everybody's seen it, and you want to hang it on your wall, it's out of context, right? That's the only thing that gets me with some rugs that are for projects like this, is that while they fit the shout out description, right, and it's such a gift and so much fun to look at them, thinking in a selfish way for oneself later, sometimes it's tricky because the subject isn't universal, right? Isn't relatable entirely. I think doing this kind of book cover, it becomes universal, doesn't it? Because it's like, oh, I love old books, that tactile quality of beautiful old antique books with gilding on the cover and this beautiful old font. This to me is something that I would hang all the time and be like, yeah, that looks, I put it with the books on the bookshelf. I might even whack a nail into the bookshelf and hang it right in front, right? Just to fit with it's really relatable. That's just a stupid side note, and it's a personal opinion. Um, so anyway, I'm just trying to get a little bit closer here. Let me see if I can figure out where. Okay, is that, no, wait a minute, let me see. I think, yeah, I guess that is, yep, that is the plaque for that one. Let me see if I can come in there a little bit stronger and see the attribution there. And I'm doing some more dragsies here. I don't know if we're going to see that. This is where I wish I had my fairy tale book handy. Hang on just a second. Let me put you right here. Vignette. And let me just see if I can, oh, it's right here. It's not where it's supposed to be, but it is right there. Let me see if I can just quickly find that one again, so we don't have this problem. I feel rotten about showing stuff and not saying whose rug it is. And I know that we did on the show, but I want to be consistent, right? So let's have a quick look at that. Let me see if I can buzz through. I'm going to shrink it down again a little bit. Let me see if I can buzz through and get the attribution here. And talk amongst yourselves just for a second while I flip through. I am going to have to put this book back. I've been working on writing projects myself, so it hasn't been on the bedside table. And I'm telling you, I have to put it back there because in looking at the rugs in the Cream City show, there were so many that I thought, I don't think I've ever seen that. And yeah, that could be brain damage, short-term memory, sieve brain, or what. But at the end of the day, what that means is there's so many images in this book that are astonishingly great, and that I've missed, or I have not poured over long enough to lock them in my memory. And there's many small images in this book too. I'm going to come back to you for a second and see. That one's not, I'm guessing that's one of the small ones. That might be why I didn't register it the first time, because it really is a beauty. Ugh, dang it! Now I'm right at the end of the book. Sorry. Maybe you have your book in front of me. If you do, oh, there it is. It's way at the end of the book. Murphy. Okay, it's the cover is called Old French Fairy Tale, illustration by Virginia Frances Sterrett, Sterrett, 22 by 30, number 2, 3, and 5 cut wool and wool yarn on linen, hooked by Elise Olson. So the illustration is by the illustrator of the Gilded Age, right? Is by Virginia Frances Sterrett, and it is hooked by Elise Olson. The cuts of this rug, yeah, we said the cuts. And do you remember, just as a reminder, this book, right, that these rugs are featured in, this is like one of the best books of all time, right? Absolutely. And it has a lot of biographical information, snippets about the different illustrators, which is great nonfiction content, and a little bit with each rug on the cuts and the parts that were hard and how these things were handled. So it's got technical information, it's got biographical information, a little bit of historical context. It is a lot of fun. Could there be more in the show than in the book? Judy, I'm wondering that too. I'm really wondering that too. I guess it's going to be a to be continued, right? Because that one I did find. Um, let's see. Let's see. So this is another real beauty. I'm going to try to find it in the book again. I think that's even faster. I'm guessing it's not Jack and the Beanstalk, is it? Because that sure don't look like Jack. Let me just find it in the book, and I think that's an easier way to reference it. You can keep looking at that. That twist of red is very, what's his name? The illustrator. We talk about him all the time. Scandinavian illustrator. Oh, I'll find it. Hang on. Almost there. Very sort of Ertean style, right? And I think, yeah. No, again, this is still Virginia Frances Sterrett. Interesting. So, and incidentally, her life is between 1900 and 1931. So, wow, that's a short life, isn't it? This is called, this really is pretty. Get ready for this title. The Tree of Marvelous Beauty. Good Lord, that really is good, isn't it? Let's talk about this composition for a minute. This is too good to whiz by. This is hooked by Cindy Irwin, and she really stayed true to the original color design, the original illustration. Let's just talk for a second about the illustrator. Virginia Frances Sterrett was the shooting star in the golden age of illustration. Her work was wondrous and brilliant, but her body of work small and her career short. At 15, while in high school, she began to study art seriously and soon won a scholarship to the Art Institute of Chicago. Within a year, her mother had become seriously ill. Sterrett took on the role of main support of her family, working at an advertising agency. Good Lord. At 19, she received her commission from the Penn Publishing Company to illustrate old French fairy tales, right? So the cover of the book as well, by the Comtesse de Ségur in 1920. Penn Publishing was delighted with her work, which was described as delicate yet powerful, and promptly commissioned her to illustrate Nathaniel Hawthorne's Tanglewood Tales, 1921. After she was diagnosed with tuberculosis, Sterrett's health began to fail. She moved to California in hopes that a better climate would help. There she began a project of her own, Arabian Nights. She could only draw for short periods of time, and it took her 3 years to complete. She began another project, Myths and Legends, which she was not able to finish. She died at the age of 30. Oh, that's horrific, isn't it? Isn't that like a really rough one? Talk about a picture, though. And I have to say, Carole's, and this is not, I'm not dissing the book at all, but I have to say Carole's photos are clearer and brighter than the photos in the book in many cases. This is one of them, right? This is so brilliant. The reason I'm popping it open is because look at the Tree of Marvelous Beauty. There is all kinds of marvelousness hanging from it. Isn't that the red kind of twisty, kind of a bit of a coral feel? Isn't that just gorgeous? Like Chinese lacquer, right? Red lacquer. I want to talk about the composition, but just let's look at the bling. There's bling inside the stars. There's freshwater pearls hanging down. She's leaning into the tree. This is absolutely, it looks like there's more pearls on the ground, more beads on the ground. Let's bring this small again and talk about the composition for a minute. This is an astonishing rug. I have to say, I think this is my favorite one so far. I love this sort of early 20th century fashion-driven style of illustration, right? It's very big at the time. Vogue covers, right? If you took the Vogue covers class, it fits right into that. There's so many things going on here design-wise that are brilliant. And for those of you who like to talk about design and do your own designing, let's just dissect briefly. The main event is the Tree of Marvelous Beauty, right? It is absolutely gorgeous. It's whimsical. It is very unnatural looking. It's standing not potted, but it seems to be growing out of this jeweled bit of earth in between some pavers. There's a girl leaning into it, and of course she's very ornamental and she adds to the beauty, but the story really is what it should be. It's this very unusual, marvelous, and beautiful tree. So the tree is a real standout. The color is a real standout. Composition wise, that slope of similar stonework going in the northeast corner, right, taking that corner out, cropping it that way, it's playing perfectly diagonally opposite the girl who's leaning into the tree. And while she's not, her form doesn't contour the tree, she is leaning in, and the tree has a sort of a mirror opening kind of opposite her, right? A little bit staggered, but it's the same kind of shape, isn't it? And that is really helping the composition. There is a bar of black, right? So it's the same stonework. Her hair is braided. It's actually braided, Kirsten. You're right. It's actually like braided with either hair, which you can get at wig stores, right? You can get wigs or extensions at wig stores. Do this and apply it, applique style. It could also be needlepoint weight thread, like one-stranded thread, right? And they've actually done a hairstyle. I absolutely love what is applied in this piece. Sometimes it nauseates me seeing too many things, three-dimensional things. In this case, it is so harmonious. I like the kind of framework in gray that is pulling your eye up diagonally to the left, right? The same sweep as the stonework. But that bar of black with those bright flowers against it is working really well against the red. Looks very exotic, very fantasy. All those white flowers on the ground that are either they're pearls and flowers, they look very pebbly, flowery. And then that white cloud, being the shape that it is, it also has like a staggered shape, like her curved body, like the curved tree. It's an absolutely brilliant composition. And that weird tree is being structured way down at the bottom with that circle, right? The circle is very, very strong. There's a path leading to it. It reminds me of a game board, right? A Trivial Pursuit where you get into the center and you're like, give me the question, I got this. It's a very strong composition. Rita, good to see you. Cindy has hooked dresses. They are out of this world. Oh, actual dresses. You can't wear them, but they are beautiful. Cindy is Cindy is OCD is the best way. Lots of beadwork in her hooking. You are thank you for adding that, Rita. You are so right. This is OCD, and it is phenomenal. I just want to look at this hair. Isn't it great? And just the posture. Look at her little fingers, right? Look at her careful little fingers. Really, really. And look at the fingers on the book cover that we just looked at. The way that the fingers are splayed, right? Fossy fingers, right? Oh, Carole, good to see you, and thank you so much for these photos. Kara, hello in Illinois. Great to see you. Look at the way the fingers are splayed. That's a design thing that is real specific, because Virginia Frances Sterrett, right, the illustrator of both of these pieces, is doing fingers this way. But if you think about it, her contemporaries, like Erte, they're not doing fingers that way. The fingers are like connected, and there'll be like one or two fingers or digits that are different, that are very shape-driven like this, finger puppety, but you're not getting the splay. You're not getting that ever. On Vogue covers, you're not getting that, right? Most illustrators are showing you a shape because it's easier and it's more stylized, elongated fingers, but Virginia is showing us something different. And Fossy fingers, right? Fossy. He used to do like this, right? Like this on the pin. Um, oh man, all those modern dance classes, and I was so bad. I wish you could have seen me, how humiliating that was. Set me up for a lifetime of public speaking, though. Say all you need is a few humiliations and you become a great public speaker, right? Like really. So this is what I love about looking at Virginia's work, is that it's very different, and it's fun to pick out things about her composition style as an illustrator that she nailed and that look different than other people, right? Interesting. So let's come back over here and let's go to our next one. Ooh, our next two. Okay, these are super stunners. So let's start down at the bottom and let's pull this one open first. This has got to be the Little Mermaid, right? But this is another one that I have not seen before, or we have not looked. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay, let me see if the plaque, if I can read the plaque. The Water Babies. No, it's not the Little Mermaid, it's the Water Babies. Okay, I'm going to put this up for you and I'm going to flip through the book and see what I can see. Um, I'm just going to launch this conversation by saying, holy mackerel. It's, look at what's outlined and what's not. Look at the fact that the hair is not outlined, the movement in the hair. Look at the fine three-dimensional beading of her headdress, right? Look at the handling of the mermaid tail, the amount of color that's in there. Look at what's colorful and what's muted, because most of it is muted, right? The soft, soft, soft conch shell, the blue crab, the goldfish or koi fish coming in, the seaweed, very, very calm colors. I'm going to start at the back of the book just in case, because this is another one, again, I don't remember looking at it together, and I feel like I might have because it's another extraordinary piece. I'm always blown away thinking about each hooker's handling, right? Because this is not an illustration thing, it's an individual hooker thing. What is outlined and what is not. And it's always interesting to see because it gives us pointers and ideas for our future work, right? I found the next one that we got, which is another one from Water Babies, but I'm determined to find this mermaid. It's looking at a book like this gives us so many style techniques because of course these were hooked by the Promogown certified teachers, right? The teaching chapter or guild with that is the Promogown certified group of like the most highly trained, right? They are the people who are hooking for this project, and so we are seeing style at its best, interpretation at its best. I do not know why I'm not seeing that. It's making me think, Judy, that you might be right. I don't know if anybody else has the book out, but I am not finding this in the book. And it's making me wonder, maybe some of them weren't, I might be wrong. It's not gospel. I'm just looking, I'm looking for the definitive because I went through it once and I have not seen it and I don't remember seeing it. And I don't want to speak with a forked tongue here, but I want to give you good information. Having one more look through, but you know what? It should be in the Water Babies chapter, shouldn't it? It should be in the Water Babies chapter, and it is not in the Water Babies. It is not in the Water Babies chapter because Water Babies, I think, is Robinson was the illustrator. Two Robinsons, but hang on. Let me just keep. I'm flipping. Let me just keep checking. It could be that it was illustrated by someone else, the Water Babies, as well. And this would be the definitive, wouldn't it, on whether or not all of the images that we're seeing for this show. Nope, it's not there. It's not there. If I've missed it twice, wouldn't be super surprising. But yeah, I'm going to say, Judy, I'm not finding that in the book. So let me try harder to stretch this open so that we have more clarity. Is it down below? Oh no, that one I don't think is right next to it. That's rough, huh? Yeah, that one's not there. If anybody knows anything about this specific rug, I would love to know. If this is the Water Babies was illustrated by Charles Heath Robinson and William Heath Robinson, both British illustrators. Again, Golden Age. These are all Golden Age illustrators. I'm trying to look for a clue. Rita, do you happen to know who hooked this one? If anybody happens to know who hooked this one, I'd love to be able to insert that. It might be that it's on a future slide too. So let's hold out for that because this is extraordinary. I'm going to make a note of this because I want to talk about this more. What really slays me with this are the muted colors, right? It is so, they're not pastel. It is so soft. It really glows. The way her hair, those curls glow in that piece or that pane of blue right in front of her, that kind of dictates the movement, the motion of the water in this piece. It's just an extraordinary composition. Let me see if there's further clues, right? And let's look at the next, I think the next one. If these are, I think it's going to be on another pane because I no, wait a minute. You know where it is. It's right above. All right. Let's do this. Carole says, I've seen twice as many photos as those I put. Okay, yeah, no biggie. If you find it, I would love to check it out. No biggie. I know we're going to figure it out. So this is the other water babies. And, you know, in theory, it looks like, I'm not even going to say it. I can't tell who hooked it. It's a similar style, but of course, these are all so well done, it's impossible to say. Now, this is also from Water Babies, the one I'm stretching out here. And again, this one is William Heath Robinson. The other one might have been Charles, I don't know. Um, let's do a little biographical on the Robinsons, because this is a famous illustrating sort of royal family kind of thing. They're brothers. So Charles Heath, referred to as Charles, right? Usually referred to as Charles, and not Charles Heath. And William Heath Robinson, known as Heath, not William, are brothers. And their lives are between the 1860s, 1870s to Charles dies in 1948, and William dies in 1944. And they are squarely they illustrated Hans Christian Andersen. Um, their influences were pre-Raphaelite work, and I'm not surprised because of the colors that we're seeing and also the faces that we're seeing. When I think of they also illustrated the children's Book of Garden Verses. Right, that's a real famous one. When we see faces that look like, reminds me of the movie Enchanted April. Did you see that? There's a scene where they're looking at oh, thank you anyway, Rita. Um, there's a scene where they're looking at a photo inside the castle that they rent, right, in Enchanted April. And it's a painting. And one of the guys says of one of the women who's standing there that the woman, the live woman, looks like a disappointed Madonna. And I'm thinking, you know, that is what all pre-Raphaelite subjects look like. A little bit disappointed, very romantic. That's what these babies look like for me, too. It's a real specific look. Yeah, there's a big biography because it's two people there, and I saw a bit about World War II, but I'm going to keep going because I logged on so late today, and I still need to log off at 1 because I have to meet Raoul at the Charter Oak Rug Show at 40 minutes later. So this is Water Babies, illustrated by William. It is 16 by 20, number 2 to number 4 cut wool on linen, hooked by Joyce de Gregorio. Joyce hand-dyed 5 value swatches along with various spot dyes and modeled pieces to recreate the watercolors of Heath Robinson's original illustration. She found off-the-bolt wool looked flat and added a little interest to the piece using fine hooked outlines, helping to define the images. So again, each of these images has a lot of information about. I like how on the little placard thing they show you the original illustration, or at least I think it is. It could be that it is actually the hooked rug, but it could be the original illustration. That would be fun too, wouldn't it? 1915. Another absolute beauty. Absolute beauty. Tell me what kind of flowers these are. I know I should know. They look like tiger lilies, but they're purple. So they must be some kind of lily, right? I'd love to know. All right, let's look at the next one. Got some to be continueds here. Now, I know we looked at both of these, and so I'm not going to go into them too hardcore, but we talked about both of them when we ran through the book and reviewed it last time. And we spent a lot of time on both because they are stellar standouts. And obviously one of them is from Alice in Wonderland, right? This is the queen off with her head. And the one below, Iris, thank you, is Little Red Riding Hood. So these were both ones that we really loved. Let me just try to attribute really quickly if we can. We might get a 2-for-1 special here because the tags are hanging right next to each other. You all are so good with your flowers. See if you can help me read these cards, and then we can do 2-for-1 special. It looks like, oh boy, these are just too small for me. Let me see. Oh, well, the bottom one is Margaret Eli Webb Designer, and it is hooked by Jane Nevis, Nevis. So I'm just struggling with the queen. Let me see if we can pull her up a little bit. And, okay, that's better. Sir John Tenniel, of course. Susie Phipps. Okay, excellent. Yes, that worked. Just want to attribute. I feel awful when I don't, you know. Another one from Alice in Wonderland. So this is another beauty. I definitely saw this in the book. Right at the beginning, the Cheshire Cat. Again, John Tenniel, because he is the illustrator for Alice in Wonderland. 18 by 27. This one is hooked by Jennifer Sleeper. Number 3, number 4, number 5 cut, hand dyed, spot dyed. Um, I think this is an image that we're all familiar with. It's one of the classics, right? One of the classic illustrations in Alice, in this moment where she encounters the Cheshire Cat and has this bewildering and frustrating conversation with him. I assume it's a him. But absolutely beautifully done. And I just love the color choices here. I picture this as a black and white illustration. I might be wrong. It could have a color plate, but I don't think I've ever seen it in color because looking at the colors feels like a new experience for me. There's a lot of blue and neutral colors in here, and yet it remains a very colorful piece, right? The flowers in the background. Her dress is a different color blue than the sky. There's a lot of gray blue, and that is very mysterious and I think very fitting for storytale illustrations, right? Muted grays, muted blues, muted greens, right? Very appropriate for hooking something that has an antique feel, and certainly a children's book, you know, watercolory feels, right? But this is really colorful. And again, choosing the parts that you want to outline that really are crisp and pop. Alice's dress, and then not really outlined, but lots of really effective contrasts in the cat, right? In the cat's face, in the cat's striping. Really, they are so beautiful, Mom. You're right. Yes, thumbs up, subscribe. We're very close to 10,000 subscribers here. We have we're heading toward 15,000 on Facebook, but it's hard to get people to subscribe on YouTube for some reason. Love to have the subscribers there. It doesn't do anything. It's just a feather in the cap, right? I would be really thoughtful if I was hooking this cat, right? Because it's a lot of line. I feel like it is based on a black and white etching because I feel like looking at it, that it was done obviously very thoughtfully because it's very successful, the hooking of it. It was an etching, right? Because you can see where it would have been dark and cross-hatched around the face and eyes for lines of definition, and that has got to be the hardest thing to pull from in terms of inspiration. Jennifer did an amazing job with this. This is absolutely pro work here. Really beautiful illustration. And a couple more. I don't think we looked at the top one. We did look at the bottom one of Red Riding Hood. Because remember when we looked at the bottom one on the show, on Coffee Time, we were saying how in the original illustration, I showed you the original as well, her dress was red. She was in red from top to bottom, almost like dressed like as a nurse, right, with an all red costume. It had, you know, it was pretty. The original illustration was pretty, but it was way more childlike and sweeter with a white dress. And there were quite a few changes between the original illustration, which is by Herbert Cole, and this hooked version is by Lily Lundgren. But if you remember this conversation, it really was a lot of fun because it was one of those things where I think I had both up on the screen at the same time, the hooked rug and the illustration, and we were able to go sort of tit for tat and say, oh, this is different, this is the same. It's like playing spot the differences, right? When you've got absolutely nothing to do or you're trying to relax. It's fun to spot the differences. I'm looking for the Mad Hatter in the book here and seeing where I can find him. Well, you know what? He's going to be under Tenniel, isn't he? Because it's got to be another Tenniel. And I'm not seeing him. Now, this has really got me wondering. Does anybody have any insight as to the question? I mean, I have found one so far that I believe is not in the book. This could be the second one that I'm just looking for Tenniel's chapter that is not in the book. Does anybody know if that's the case? Oh, there he was. I found the Mad Hatter. He is in the book. But I'm still wondering. So the Mad Hatter, John Tenniel, it's hooked by Catherine Fleming Kovarik with a K, who has transformed the pen and ink drawing, there we go, of the Mad Hatter into a colorful adaptation of Tenniel's work. Absolutely. And not only that, let me pull, because we haven't looked at him yet, let me pull this open a little bit and look at the shadow under him. I'm sure it was cross-hatched in the original illustration, but it's beautifully hooked. It's very, very soft. This is where rugs are superior to a black and white illustration, right? Because you couldn't cross-hatch that to be this soft and shadowy. And yeah, it's very colorful. It's very fun the bread or the toast in the hand. Very, very fun. Great colorful piece, right? He has two different socks on. See how they're reversed? A lot of fun. Great character piece, isn't it? Let's see what's next here. Oh, this is a beauty. I know we've seen this one. It's not ringing a bell for me, though. Let me see. I'm going to flip while you look and see if I can find that bunny in here. I think it's a hare. And let's figure out who hooked it and what story it's from, because it's not ringing a bell in terms of fairy tale. Okay, Charles Robinson, and the piece is called He Said, I Am Surprised. Okay, so yeah, I don't know. So we just did one by the Robinsons. This is another one. This is not Heath, this is Charles. He Said, I Am Surprised. Illustration by Charles, 30 by 47 and a half, 8 cut with 6 cut and 3 cut details on linen. Hooked by Dana Rea, R-E-A. And I don't know what story this is from. Let's see. I'm going to attempt, it's a beautiful piece, beautifully hooked. A lot of atmosphere in the background, right? A lot of movement. What a happy expression on the face of the, again, I think it's a hare. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. I like the purple, right? I like the introduction of the purpley colors under the hare. Purple with the yellow with it, really good. Lots of neutrals in this piece too. The grays, the browns, lots of very cool greens. What can we see from this piece? I don't think I can make it much bigger. I'm going to try one more time. See if you can read it, because your version is a lot bigger than mine. I'm curious to know what it's from, because you see a rabbit, and I mean, I'm such a simpleton, I immediately think the Velveteen Rabbit. It's obviously not that. That would be a copyright problem. Let me pull it open one more time and see. Oh, look at the way it's whipped. That is beautiful, with the different grays going all the way to black. Isn't that beautiful? And a little bit of a black border. Now, what does it say there? Can you all see anything that my eyes don't see? Just wondering what it's from. And that does, the illustration definitely looks different. So I'm guessing that with these cards, it's showing you the original illustration. It is in color. And it looks like he's more spotted in the illustration. Absolutely beautiful. It's not like Brer Rabbit or something like that, is it? I suppose it could be. If you can read the book, let me know. Because again, when I look at my view of these shows, I always have, it's tiny. It's much smaller than it is for you. It's like this for me, and not the full computer screen. Watership Down. I don't think it great guess. It's not impossible, but I don't think it can be to fit into, first of all, that's too contemporary of a book. I think there'd be a copyright issue. I'm not sure. But maybe it is. I'm not sure. Gosh, I'm so curious now. I'm going to stretch it one more time. Let's just do it one more time. I'm a skunk, right? I have to, curious minds have to know. And the quality of the photos, Carole, is like tremendous. These are really, really high quality photos. And it makes it possible to stretch them open like this. Wow, that's a good photo. We should have it this time. Painting of, I still can't get it. All right, to be continued, because it's not in the book. So I'd just love to know what story this is from. I'll see. I'll keep an eye on the thread in case you have figured it out, Detective Dogs, right? Oh, this is a wall and a half. I just got all excited. Okay, let me figure out who this is from. I have a feeling that these are in the back. Yeah, they are. So both of these are from Ida. Now, we did talk about this illustrator, Australian. Ida Rentoul Outhwaite, Outhwaite, Australian, 1888 to 1960. So I'm going to make them larger. Somebody's buck. Very good. Ooh, interesting. And April said, Peter Rabbit, question mark, Mr. McGregor's garden. This is a to be continued. We got to figure this out. I want clarity on this and also clarity on the water babies, right? Because these are, I just want to know, curious minds want to know, because we've attributed them. But yeah, there's more to know. To be continued. Just want to make this one bigger first. Let's look at this first. Witch on Her Broom. 20 by 20, number 3, number 5 cut wool on linen. Hooked by Karen Krebs. Krepps. I absolutely love this piece, don't you? I mean, talk about a composition. I want to look at them together again, too, because we are talking about almost the same composition. This is incredibly strong with the vertical tree trunks, right? Isn't there something to be said for, number one, splitting the moon in half? Number two, having these strong lines, vertical lines, horizontal broom, diagonal. She's kind of, it looks like steering the broom. Have not seen this before. Why not? Why not? And she's got a lantern on the edge of the broom that fits perfectly into the corner, tipped, right? Gives you some movement too, because it's tipped. Her cape, her gown is flowing behind her. She's moving. Her hair is in movement. It's all got a lot of flow to it. The lines are so good that it's crazy. It reminds me of this old time game. Oh, we have to go after this, called the Doodle Game. Remember, I talked about this in the episode with the Florence Griswold house when we looked at the art that was there, where the idea was that an artist would, and this is a great game to play with your friends and family. The idea is that the artist, one artist, would just be sitting there having drinks in the evening, fires blazing, everything's cozy, and do a few doodles on a piece of paper with nothing in mind, pass it to someone else, and they would complete the drawing and make a full blast, frameable piece of gallery art, because they were all artists. Reminds me of that, because if you were to put just the diagonal and the main lines in, a person could really go to town finishing out this composition. It is extraordinary. It is so strong. Color-wise, it's very strong. Oh, Juju says, I found the rest of the quote, but not the book. I am surprised. I expect it's a party. Very good. Great research. Oh, my favorite when we do research together. It's my favorite. Still a to be continued. Exciting cliffhanger, right? I just love this piece. Don't you love the witch not wearing black? I mean, just for a change, right? Because traditionally she doesn't have to wear black, right? This is a more modern invention or a modern interpretation. We've got the black cat present, superstitious. We've got the owl present, right? The wisdom. The owl bringing the wisdom of the natural world, right? Which is what makes her a witch. She doesn't have to be green with warts and a pointy finger and hairs growing out of places we shouldn't speak of. That doesn't define the witch, right? What defines the witch is the fact that she has a profound knowledge of the natural world and what herbs do, what plants do, cures, right? Cures and medicine. And that's what makes a witch, right? So she can dress however she likes. She is wearing the conical hat, which has always been associated with witches, but it, again, does not have to be black. It's an extraordinary piece. And Karen has done an extraordinary job hooking it. It looks like those are some little leaves flying too. It's a very autumnal piece. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant illustration, but the interpretation, Karen's interpretation, is for me what's incredibly brilliant. It's a hard choice too, isn't it? Let me just grab this, bring it up, and we'll finish here. Karen says Margaret's Books. Margaret's Books. Books by Margaret's Books by H. Gelding Hall. Ooh, eBay's calling. Something for later. Now, this is another extraordinary piece. This one is hooked by Joyce Kruger, The Fairy and the Baby, again by Ida Rantoul Uthwaite. And this is 16 by 22 and a half, number 3 cut wool on linen. Another extraordinary piece, and we've got a little baby in a spider's web that's being used as a hammock. Here we go. What kind of flowers are these? Are these like morning somethings, morning glory, something like that? Oh, I love the way the flowers look. They have like a little starfish center. I know that was ignorant, but look at the clouds in the background, how soft that is. Everything about this piece is soft, feminine, lovely. The colors are lovely. We've got some beautiful bronze green colors coming in, really warm greens, right? Absolutely beautiful warm colored golden hair against this very cool blue sky. Morning glory, thank you. Very subtle sky. It's all very soft. It gives you, I mean, this is a pretty precarious situation we got going with this baby curled up in a spider's web. But there's a cushion under the baby. There's a fairy taking care of a baby who presumably can fly. So there are some safeties in place here, but it is a little uncomfortable. It is whimsical. Very, very, very sweet. Now, as a last thing for now, Mom, you knew that one too, huh? Let's look at the compositions together. There is nothing wrong with having a style. right? We have to keep reminding ourselves every time you start a new project, you do not have to invent the wheel again, right? Look at the two compositions and what they have in common. Pretty much the drawing of the girl is the same drawing. She's tipped at the waist a hair more, her arm is in the same position, her hair is flowing in the same position. She's in profile both times. It could be that Ida did this as a device, right? Not everybody is great at drawing faces. Not everybody wants to. A lot of artists want to maintain that sort of feel of anonymity by putting things in profile and putting the emphasis on other parts of the composition. These are very similar compositions. Both female characters are in the same composition, right? The background is a huge part of the story, and they are both standing on very precarious footings, right? Flowers and a moving broom. So interesting because obviously this subject, two different fairy tales, um, the subject appeals to the artist, right? And it's just a reminder, don't invent the wheel again. If you've got a good thing going, you can use a very similar drawing for more than one piece, and it's not going to look boring. It's not going to look repetitive. It's not going to look Groundhog Day. If it's great once, it's great twice, right? Use your tropes, use your devices, use the things that you figured out, and keep going with new projects, right? This works great. And it's funny to see them together because if we didn't see them together, I might not even notice that they're very similar. Um, and there's not absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think it's interesting to look at, and I think it's a great reminder for ourselves as artists, right? Sorry about that dead moose. That really that tripped me up. We would have had another 15 minutes together, but I got to zip because Raul's waiting for me at the Charter Oak Cultural Center. I'm going to take my mom on a tour of those rugs, and I will be with you again on Friday for gallery night. So be sure that you are sending me your pieces. Lots of pieces coming in. Jane is picking them all up, putting that show together. And I will be with you on Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to run that show. We'll be together from 7 to 9. Looking forward to that in a huge way. And then I will be back with you on Sunday for designing like the storybook fairy tale part 2. And I've already got some sketches in place. I'll show you what I'm working on later. I started with Colony of Cats just because that just gets me. It just gets me. They're all great fairy tales, and they're less well-known ones this time, with the exception of Goldilocks. But I felt that we needed to put that in there as a tribute to Garrett Bluenose, right? So it's good to have a little bit of what we know with a little bit of what is new. But I'm going to walk you through kind of talking you into trying specific compositions with some new games in this design like. So join me either on Sunday for that or the following Wednesday for the same content but another live show for those of you who want to be live. And it is recorded for those of you who cannot be live. I will see you then. Thank you so much. Again, sorry to keep you waiting. I hate it when that happens. If only I'd read Jay's text to me more carefully instead of being a complete flibberty gibbet and just reading over it. Oh, dead moose. Doesn't affect my life. Well, it did and affected all of us, so I apologize for that. But I will see you on Friday for cocktail time. Send me your stuff, right? We want it, and I still have time to put it in the show. Have a great afternoon, everybody.